All right, good evening, folks. How's it going back out there? It is the Earthmaster. It is Thursday, August 21st, 2025, 10:22 p.m. local time here in California. Latest activity here on the globe shows a 5.3 across the area of Myanmar, getting some adjustment going on up there. That follows a pretty large earthquake down here across Drake's Passage, a 7.5 earthquake coming in here just a short time ago. Let's go ahead and check out the latest information here with this 7.5. By the way, originally came in as a 6.9, and then it got upgraded to an 8, and then back down to a 7.5, and it looks like that's where they're going to leave it at. It has been reviewed, of course. No technical information on it. Normally they'll put out a tectonic summary on what caused it, which fault system, and whatnot. But this quake in itself is in a rather odd location here. It's kind of out here in this little basin away from the plate boundary. Historically, there haven't been any large earthquakes out there. Up north, yes, where we've seen that 7.4 back in May of this year, but this is definitely an interesting quake with no historical seismic activity here within that, at least within 60, 70, maybe even more miles or so from the epicenter of that quake. Interesting quake nonetheless. There is a little bit of aftershock activity, it looks like, a 5.1. So that brings up our total tally here. Let's go ahead and see what we got for the total tally for the year of 7-pointers. Well, of course, we got that 8-pointer, right? So that makes, looks like 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that right? 9? 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 7-pointers? I thought we had 10 here a while back. Maybe we didn't. Either way, coming up here, closing in on the average, each year we should see at least 15 7.0 to 7.9 earthquakes. So we're catching up. Don't be surprised to hear about some more 7-pointers throughout the year. This is just on average. And, of course, each year we should see our 8-pointer. And so far we have one. But that's a decent earthquake. Up here is where we had that 7-pointer back in May up along the plate boundary. It does look like there was another 6-pointer a little bit further south here on that same day, but a few hours later. And now we got the most recent earthquake there. Like I say, it's well off the plate boundary in the basin, which is a little odd. Normally you don't see that large of an earthquake out here just on the oceanic crust. So something's going on. It looks like about 6 or 7 miles underneath the area. Let me go back over here to the miles map. Yeah, 6.7 miles underneath this area. Definitely an odd earthquake. We'll have to watch this and see what takes place out here. Like I say, the subduction zones out here normally see large earthquake activity like that, and the strike slip boundaries as well. But out in the middle of the basin, the ocean, just a little on the odd side, to say the least. That earthquake, I don't think it triggered a tsunami statement here. Let's go see what we got for the latest information here from the Tsunami Warning Center. There never was any watch advisory or threat. Everything was pretty much A-OK. These guys originally appointed that earthquake as an 8.0 for an extended time, and then just recently updated everything. But yeah, there's no threat for this earthquake, and really nothing in event mode out there from any of the buoys. Of course, there's not a whole lot around the area. Is this working? It might be offline. There we go. One over here in Australia, but that went into some type of event mode hours and hours ago, so they just haven't fixed that. Sometimes those buoys will do that, but nothing going on down there across that area as far as any tsunami adjustment or movement. Looking here at the adjustment, I'm kind of trying to figure out exactly where this is headed. The general plate stress out there should work its way north. It almost looks like it's right there along the Scotia plate and the Antarctica plate. Here on this model, it shows a little bit more completeness in terms of that plate boundary. But I think it's, let's see here. Let's take a look real quick. I want to go over here to the ocean view real quick. The plate boundary would technically be right here if that would make it complete. So this earthquake in itself is off of that over here, like I say, a good distance. That's at least 50 miles or so from the nearest plate boundary. So it's going to be interesting to see what takes place here. I'm thinking we should see some activity further up north, but we'll watch South America. Right now the activity stirring up further to the west here. That just may be a coincidence, maybe not, but got to remember when you shuffle around one portion of the puzzle in a big fashion out here, can have adverse effects all across the planet. There's that 5.3 coming in around the Burma area in the last hour. The seismograph stations out here still look a little wavy. Those S waves can travel around the globe a couple times there. As you can see, they don't look normal. So that's just the Earth kind of vibrating like a bell, so to speak, or ringing like a bell. We'll just kind of see how this takes place here. Looking at California, no major adjustment going on here. Got one earthquake, though. Looks like in Nevada, 2.6 above the 2.5 level. A couple other ones here from yesterday and overnight. Nothing major going on here for Southern California for now. A little bit of clustering going on there across the creeping segment of the San Andreas Fault. Not a whole lot there across the Bay Area. Northern California, pretty quiet. Nothing showing up there on the model. But let's just go see what we got for the Cascadia tremor activity here today. Still somewhat elevated there, 177 epicenters of tremor underneath the Vancouver Island ranges, also a little bit underneath Oregon there. That's down into the Cascadia subduction zone, building steam or strain across the locked area. It's a little bit lower than yesterday's count. Still somewhat elevated, though. Nothing going on across the Cascadia for now. Washington area got a number of earthquakes out there. This one 22 miles deep into the Cascadia subduction zone. Not a big earthquake, but we have noted a little bit more activity elevated compared to normal out here. Nothing big, just some deeper earthquakes being recorded into the Cascadia. A couple north here of the Devil's Mountain Fault near Mount Vernon this morning, but nothing new to report across that area. Some smaller quake activity well to the east of Mount Rainier. Let's go ahead and check out the Mount Rainier activity here real quick. Right over here to Mount Rainier, the volcano map. And we'll check out the latest seismograph station here. Not really seeing any major earthquake activity. Some of these little spikes here may be some ice quakes, but there's still some earthquake activity out there. That's just the last few hours. There's a localized event. Here's a 2.9 near Vernon, Mount Vernon. Notice how it's kind of at a distance there, a little thick. Localized events are going to look like this here. So there's a couple earthquakes, nothing big going on there. There's one from that's from last night. Let's see what else we got here for Yellowstone. Any earthquake activity up there? Looks like the swarm is dying down. There wasn't a huge swarm, but it was a little bit. Let's go check out the latest information here from the USGS website, and this station right here should be just good. There's the 7.5 earthquake showing up quite nicely there across Yellowstone National Park. Look at those S waves. They last for a little while. They're still continuing there like an hour or so later. Notice those wavy lines there. Looks like it's continuing to pick up. It does look like, though, it stirred up the swarm. Notice that? It was starting to mellow out and die down, and then as soon as those S waves kick in, we're starting to get some earthquake activity ramping up there across Yellowstone National Park again. We've seen this a number of years back when there was a big earthquake in Australia, or Alaska, and it triggered a swarm. A swarm kicked up following the arrival of the S waves, because it's kind of a frequency that gets picked up there, kind of a vibration, and it can kind of trigger these earthquake swarms. It does look like that stirred up as a result of those S waves coming in there. And again, that's that 7.5 showing up on the seismograph station in Yellowstone National Park. Nothing big, but there's a number of earthquakes here. We'll have to watch out overnight. Of course, the USGS has their reporting threshold turned off. unless it's above the 2.5 level. So all these microquakes will not show up here on the map until human review after the morning meeting and the coffee and whatnot, once the USGS gets there in office and positioned to look at the graphs. But it does look like it stirred up some earthquake activity there across Yellowstone. Texas oil fields still pretty active. Got some movement over here across the Louisiana and Texas border. That I believe there's quite a few oil fields out over here as well. Let's see what we got. Heavily forested though. Lots of pine out here. Beautiful area. These earthquakes here underneath this area, but these look like some type of oil pads there. These are, I mean, they're somewhat easy to spot. This looks like a wastewater pond out there. A couple out here as well. Sometimes they name them on the map, oil fields and whatnot. I don't see any mention of them, but there's definitely some oil fields out there across that area. And those are kind of getting hit with some earthquake activity. New Madrid seismic zone, pretty quiet, but I do think we need to watch that. It's a major intraplate boundary here that can produce big earthquakes. The last series of large events was back in 1811, 1812. So there's a lot of historical big earthquake activity out here across the East Coast, or east of the Rockies, I should say. Of course, the oil boom there back in the 80s resulted in quite a bit of earthquake activity, and it's still continuing to this day. A little bit less up in Oklahoma since they've kind of tapered down on that. But New Madrid seismic zone, big time area of some large earthquake activity down there across the Carolina area as well. Got around Charleston, seen some large earthquake activity. Even up in New York and Boston and Vermont area can see some large earthquakes. Hundreds of years have passed since those events. So this map here is just a friendly reminder. If you live in some of these areas, you know, it may happen soon and maybe another 100 years. But the thing is, hundreds of years have passed already. It's not like we've had big earthquake activity 20 years ago, you know, where we have to wait another 500 years. It's been that long. So gotta watch that. When the North American plate moves out here, when these oil fields really start to kick up, we do need to watch certain regions out there across the east. Right now it's pretty quiet. One earthquake way up north, though, into Canada, a little 2.1. That was last night after midnight there. Let's see what else here. This area around Japan got hit. I did mention this morning about watching this area, and the reason why I say that is because the general plate stress out here, if you look at these models, shows the Pacific plate moving off to the northwest, relatively to the northwest here, at a decent slip rate. We started off with an elevated aftershock sequence up there across the Kamchatka area where that 8.8 earthquake struck. That's what it was, an 8.8 last July. That elevated earthquake activity led me to believe that things were on the increase out here, and to watch the general regions that were kind of quiet. And I pointed right down here across Japan, and sure enough, we got hit with a 5.7 and a 4.5 and some elevated activity there. Deeper movement this morning as well. That was into the Izu Trench. One area that has not been hit yet is this area here, the Nankai Trough. I'm watching that pretty closely. That's capable of producing some big mega quake activity. Right now it's pretty quiet though across that area, but I do expect that to increase. Some further activity here around the Papua New Guinea region. New Zealand sitting down there nice and pretty, nice and quiet for now. Like I say, it's going to be interesting to watch and see what happens following this movement. Sometimes it takes, you know, a number of hours, even a number of days to see resulting pressure. But sometimes it happens within an hour. We've seen some activity here a couple months back where had some large earthquake activity up here, and the general strain along this boundary kind of points to the north here to Australia. And Australia got hit with that 4 to 5 pointer, I think it was a few months back. Like an hour after this event down here. So it's good to look at these general stress models. It goes to show you that they do help look at areas of concern when it comes to plate movement. But down here it'd be really interesting to watch, because that was off of the plate boundary and just kind of out there in the ocean basin. Really weird. Looks like there's another 5-pointer coming in right now. Down across this area, 6.2. Historically, we looked at this in the update, but there's never been any large events out here of this magnitude, not even minor events. Look at this model here, and this is what's really weird is, there we go. This goes back 1900, 2015, so I could show you through the search, or I could just show you on this map. Here's the plate boundary. Yes, we can see some 4s. Nothing big out there. The 7.4 struck up here around this region back in May. But look at this, where this earthquake struck, 7.5. No historical data of 4.5 and above in this area. What is going on out here? And it's a ways away from any nearest plate boundary. So it's I'm curious if you got any thoughts on this. We'll be watching for the USGS, see what they have to say about this. Like I say, they normally put out a notification about it. The 2025 Drake's Passage earthquake was a result of blah, blah, blah. And it's technical information here. You can learn a lot from the fault plane solution and whatnot and their whole summary. But right now, it kicked in a little late. It was after hours, so we'll probably see that return tomorrow. But hopefully they get to it. Either way, that's an odd one. When you see a large earthquake out here in an area that is seismically not active, it makes you wonder what's going on here. All right, the rest of the globe out here, what do we got? Atlantic, pretty quiet. Nothing going on there for now. One earthquake in the Africa area, 3.3. That one looks fairly new. Yeah, it's 10:01 p.m. Let's see. Nothing major going on in Alaska. I guess we'll just kind of watch this, see how things play out. Let's go ahead and check out what else we got to check. Hawaii. That's the other thing. What's going on with Hawaii here? Let me show you guys. Go to the Kilauea volcano. I think here that we're getting some high in the northern vent. This was from 3 days ago. The eruption should have happened by now. Let's see what we got here for the deformation data. We're going way back up in a sharp rise here. Following a similar pattern as to episode 30. So let's go take a look here at the webcam real quick at Kilauea Summit area and see what we got. Ooh, it almost looks like it's splattering up here a little bit. I wouldn't doubt it if this kicks up here soon. Is that the only image they have here? Oh no, they got a couple out here. Oh, I think it's starting here. You guys see that? They do have a YouTube channel. When you click on that, it takes you to a live stream. But we're gonna check back on that here in a minute. It does look like it's starting to erupt right now. That was at 1931, so just about 10 minutes ago. All right, so we'll check back on that. Let's go ahead and check out space weather activity here real quick. Nothing major going on as far as any significant Earth-directed CMEs, so no auroras in the forecast there, fairly minimal. Flaring activity is really low. We do have, a massive area on the far side of the sun that blasted off this huge, strong flare and a subsequent large full halo CME. Had that been Earth-directed, we'd be talking about some awesome auroras here in the near term. But that was directed away from Earth. Here's a movie, I guess. Let's see. Watch over here. Look at that. Boom. That was not Earth-directed, but we're kind of looking at it from the back side. We're on the front part of the sun. That's the far side of the sun over there with the CME blasted off. That's just a huge, beautiful CME. Not Earth-directed. And it's coming from this sunspot. I almost guarantee you it's coming off of 4168. That was a former sunspot out here. Now coming back around the bend again. This is the area of interest, so it is fairly large in coverage area, and I'm guessing that it's fairly complex as well, blasting off that type of activity. We got a number of days before that comes into the eastern limb. There's another sunspot down here as well. So we got technically 3 areas of interest that we'll get a better view at in the coming days. There is one area out here on the Earth-facing side right now, 4191. Not really impressed with it. It does have some fairly large polarities here, but it's not all that complex here in terms of the magnetic structure. So I'm really not expecting much from that. It's these others that are coming back into view here in a number of days that we'll have to watch closely. Current flare threat sits at about 15% chance there for M flare, X flare around 1%, C flare still fairly minimal at 55. Quick glance here at the numerical model of the hurricane out there. See if it's still a hurricane. Let's go check this out here, Aaron. Hurricane Aaron's at 90 mile per hour sustained wind, so we're still hurricane status. That will eventually weaken and head way out to the Atlantic, almost up around the Iceland area. Way up there. Goodness. Let's go see what we got here for the model run. I want to see if there's anything coming behind it. There it is out there. Fairly large in coverage area, but that's weakening at the same time. Really nothing behind it. There's a little tropical system that's going to follow in its steps there to the Atlantic. Nothing headed to land. Ooh, what do we got there? Sticking, kind of coming up out of the blue. Literally, we'll have to watch that. That's around the 31st of August. In about 10 days. These models could change easily, but it does look like something is trying to form out there. So we'll check back on that as we get a little bit closer. In the meantime, weather out here in Northern California is supposed to be 108 tomorrow. Yeah, fun. Northern California. I don't live in Death Valley, but it sure feels like it sometimes. All right, quick glance here at the Kilauea volcano once again. Like I said, I think it's just about ready to erupt here. Well, there's the latest imagery. Getting close. It made a sharp rise there on the inflation chart. So this is getting really close here. All right, another earthquake there in Russia. Earth still vibrating and ringing like a bell. That will continue for a little bit. Nothing major going on there across seismograph stations for now. We'll catch you guys out here in the morning for the Friday morning update. Goodness, made it to the weekend here just about. Have a good one. We'll see you guys out here in the morning. Looks like my hotkeys not working. Let's try that again.